Dead Chow Duo Podcast, episode number 30. How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing pretty good. That intro kind of caught me off guard because we had 10, like I'm looking at the timer right here. We had 10 minutes of solid conversation before we started this podcast. Some of it I feel like should have been on this podcast because we were talking about great things like baseball and
I don't know. You can throw it out there.
I'm not going to do that. That's way too much work. No, that's just, well, post-roll, yes, but I'm not going to, like, clip it up and throw it in there because it'll be, like, me talking about baseball and then it'll be, like, me talking about eggs. It's terrible. So
talking about beaches.
Well, see, here's the thing, Andy. So we're not going to use that for post-roll, but just because you live in a sandy area and there's no water does not mean it's a beach. That means it's a desert.
I was joking.
No, you weren't. You were serious. You were like, I live right by the beach and it's really noisy. It's like I'm picturing this Kentucky paradise.
You are misquoting everything.
Then I realized, I thought to myself, I'm like, Kentucky is a landlocked state. So unless he lives by one of those magical lakes, because there are lakes like this down here in Florida where they have like a sandy shore. It's kind of like a beach. Here. But you told me there's no water. That's not a beach. It's not. It's not. If there aren't girls running around in bikinis, it's not a beach. Sorry. If you can't take your boat to it, it's not a beach.
I've been to a couple beaches in Florida. And those ladies were like above 80 years old, so I don't really count that as a beach either.
The best beaches down here in Florida are the ones that are seniors only and are like, what do they call them? It's basically a nice way of saying you don't have to wear a top. So you'll have
a nude beach.
Yeah. Well, you got to keep the bottom on. You got to keep the bottom on in all these.
You can't have your giblets running around.
But I remember when I was a younger man.
That just seems like a free the nipple beach.
Pretty much, because I remember when I was a younger man, I found myself in southern Florida, and I ended up on one of these beaches unwittingly. I did not know that I was being a part of that. And someone's, you're out with a family, and, you're you don't know the area. And we were going to this restaurant that was adjacent to one of these beaches. So I wander onto the beach while we're waiting for our table. And I saw what must have been someone's grandma running around with no top. Now, most 16-year-old kids would be like...
Does this excite you?
It did not. It did not. It made me... So, first of all, if I wasn't a believer in it before, I certainly was afterward. A believer in the force of gravity, because there was some serious droopage going on there. And I also felt bad because I remember sitting there looking at this lady and I'm like, I'm looking at someone's grandma and she doesn't have a top on. And even though I just kind of quickly glanced at it, I still saw somebody's meemaw's boobies. And it's just kind of a weird thing to think about. But anyway, how was your week, Andy? Work? Anything else?
Yeah. Nope.
Well, let's lead off into our first segment then, because I'm going to pry for more information, Andy. What have you been watching? What have you been playing this week?
You could probably guess. I've been watching the same thing for the past 2 weeks.
Malcolm in the Middle?
Yep. Slowly grinding through Malcolm in the Middle.
How many seasons is it?
6 or 7.
I feel like it was on the air longer, but I guess that sounds about right.
I can look it up real fast. And then played some more Chell. So I'm interested, but haven't watched yet. Malcolm. Chernobyl, the new miniseries on HBO.
So it's funny you mentioned that because I'll get into... It's kind of a good segue into what I was watching this week. The Game of Thrones finale, which we'll talk about a little bit later because I do have a question for Andy that's more of a general question, but it is related to the Game of Thrones finale. So I did watch that. I was one of the few people who was not disappointed in it. I've been kind of dabbling in The Office again. And as far as Chernobyl goes, I did see the trailer for that when I was watching Game of Thrones, I think 2 weeks ago. And I said to Ashley, this looks really interesting.
It's only 5 episodes long.
I'll have to watch it then because I've purchased HBO now for a month. I still have 2 weeks left of it, so I'll have to check it out. Maybe we should both watch it and do a little mini review or something. on.
I think you may be good on watching the rest of it because there's 3 episodes out right now, and it's a 5-episode series.
You know what? Let's do this. Let's me and you watch it, and when it wraps up, we'll do like a mini review. Not even like DCD Film Club. We'll just put it in the entertainment section of the podcast. I think that'd be fun. So I was interested in it. My wife was completely uninterested. Did not find it something that she wanted to watch at all, which is understandable. It for some people they might not find it a topic that they want to explore. I've also been playing this week World of Warcraft, Division 2, and Forza Horizon 4, and they're all great.
One more
Pokemon card game
about sneaking around.
Oh, I played
giving
Sneak
people
King.
hamburgers.
Yeah, I played Sneak King on Saturday for a little bit over an hour. And I was surprised at how good that stream performed. We'll have to do it again. I had to stop because I bought a rechargeable battery for my Xbox 360. And apparently it's just kind of dead. It's defective. With 360 stuff, that happens a lot. It's an old system. So I'll have to get some AA's because I don't trust buying another rechargeable battery because I feel like it's just going to go out on me again. So let's see what this message from Andy says. Dogs bark. It's all blurry.
They shut up.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to get a focus. This is dogs go bark bark in the dark dark.
Oh, well, that's kind of weird. So, that's cool though. I'm kind of looking forward to watching Chernobyl.
I've been actually playing another game.
What's that?
You may not know I don't like mobile games, but I've been playing a mobile game. I downloaded Plants vs. Zombies 1 to my phone and been playing through that again.
That game is a lot of fun. So I didn't finish it. I got pretty deep into it, didn't finish it. My wife, I did not know this, has played the entire thing. Like multiple times.
I've been just using it when I use the bathroom recently.
It's a good mobile game. I will also say if, for whatever reason, if you're into third-person shooters that are multiplayer, the Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare series is actually really good.
Isn't dead. Apparently the first game still has life.
I own both, and I will tell you that you're right. There's still a lot of people on those servers. I will also tell you that they're mostly kids. So if you put a headset on and you turn voice chat on, like in Xbox Live, like I turned the voice chat off. Like I don't want to hear what people are saying, but so I turn it off.
Game audio.
Well, then there you go. But if you do,
the only games I listen to game audio on have been Apex, and before that, like I don't know, Apex and COD. That's it.
I feel like some games you really have to listen to the audio. And I feel really weird playing Madden without audio. It just kind of, I don't know what it is. It kind of throws me off a little 2K, bit.
I don't play any sport, definitely sports games, no audio.
That's crazy, man. Any kind of first-person shooter, I need that audio. World of Warcraft, I need that audio. Believe it or not, there's a lot of audio cues. I don't know. I hate playing a game without audio. It's kind of weird to me.
Put on some tunes, talk to some friends.
See, I don't care about the music because, like, with the Astro Mix Amp or whatever, you can mix them. So, like,
I mean, I've
done
turned
that.
Game audio off, and I just listen to
that.
some like Sum 41, In Too Deep.
What is your thing with that song lately? Like, you keep bringing up,
It was in Malcolm in the Middle, so I've been just memeing it for a while.
Okay, because you keep bringing up Sum 41, and I'm like, that's so odd because they're like 15 years ago was like the last time they were relevant, maybe.
Dude, I'm a big alt fan.
Yeah.
2000s alt.
I like 2000s alternative rock.
I mean, that's one of my stations.
I have a iTunes playlist that I'm currently building up of 2000s alternate rock.
I have 3 playlists. I have Jams, which is all my rap. All the Jams, which is all the raps. Okay, I went through all my favorite artists and added every single song they've ever made. And then I have the 47 Chromos, which is everything.
Yeah.
Oh, and EE, which is some good old cowboy outlaw tunes.
I have an EDM playlist.
Gross.
It's kind of a catch-all for all EDM. I have a drum and bass playlist that is specifically drum and bass songs because Ashley doesn't really care for those, but I do. Me and my wife listen to EDM a lot. It's something that we both enjoy.
Y'all handed me the aux and we listened to rap. So.
Well, I mean, Ashley was loving that. I listen to a lot of rap, hip-hop, R&B with my wife. I would never listen to it on my own because when I'm by myself, I generally...
I mean, kind of similar to the first topic. I listened to an album, Tyler, the Creator's new 2019 album, Igor.
Is it good?
I don't know. It was all right, but see, this is an ongoing thing with Tyler, the Creator and me, where at the beginning I dislike or I'm like, oh, the album's okay. But I slowly grow to love it. Tyler's one of my favorite rappers. I don't know. It's weird.
You know, some of the songs have to grow on you. I remember when I was a kid, I would listen to Van Halen records, and it'd be the first time I listened to it, and I go, oh, well, you know, I like the hits, but the B-sides I'm not really a big fan of. And then before you know it, the B-sides are your favorites instead of the hits.
Flower Boy, I really didn't like it when it first came out. And that's one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. Thank God for Apple Music. I gotta say, it's great.
I canceled my Apple Music.
We do the $14.99 plan.
Red, YouTube Music.
See, that's solid too. I mean, like we
the
live
only
at
bad
such a
thing
great
is you
time.
can't make a playlist though.
That kind of stinks. I mean, for me, I like Apple Music because me and my wife can set up playlists, share them together, all that. And I have like I said, I have the EDM playlist, the drum and bass playlist. I have a 2000s alternate rock. I have a like 90s alternate rock.
My all the jams I was referencing had like 3,000 songs on it.
Yeah.
And the jams, like the one I listened to like daily, had like it was like 1,200, 1,300 songs on it.
See, that's a good playlist because that playlist never gets old. If you really build a good one.
For some reason, there's one song that always pops up. I don't know if you've ever felt this way with Apple Music, but there's one song that always comes up all the time, and that's for me. It's ADHD by Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. It's not perfect. I think there are some glitches in the shuffle mode, but anyway. So, moving on to entertainment this week, I did want to kind of pick Andy's brain on this a little bit on a couple topics that he has no interest in whatsoever. So, first one, as you guys well know, and there was even a bet on this, and he never played it.
I don't do YouTube, so
Andy agreed to play until level 20 on World of Warcraft, and he never did it. So if you're out there and you're a listener, put in the YouTube comments or tweet us at Dead Channel Duo on Twitter. It's at Dead Channel Duo. You can tweet us and you tell Andy that you want to see this World of Warcraft playthrough with me and him, where I guide him through the first 20 levels of the game, and we do it together, because he promised to do it and he never did it. So call him out on it. Call in the tab. Anyway, World of Warcraft Classic got a release date recently. People have been asking for this game for ages, right? Since basically the first couple expansions. People have wanted Blizzard to go back and do vanilla WoW or classic WoW. And they've done it. At first, they said it was impossible to go back because it's kind of a game as a service type deal, right? But they managed to go back to a 1.8 build is what they're aiming for.
That's not classic.
Well,
we want vanilla.
You don't want that. You don't want that because that kind of leads in
all the bugs that started off with.
See, now that kind of leads into my next point, because right now, people that are playing the beta are mistakenly and unwillingly reporting intended features as bugs because they're that far removed from the classic experience. They go, this can't be intended because it's not that way now. This is a bug.
In the actual 1.8 update, you could use the book glitch to hit level 10,000 in an hour.
So what I want, there's no level 10,000, and I feel the need to correct you on multiple points there. But anyway.
When I was referencing Skyrim.
Oh, okay.
With the book glitch.
So I wanted to ask you, Andy. I feel that this is kind of, and I've already see people that are playing the beta saying, this isn't something that I'm going to spend a lot of time on. Now, obviously, Blizzard put a lot of time into building this. So yeah. I don't know that it's going to make a lot of money for them. I feel like it's traditionally, something like this is done as a fan service. It's not really for profit. And they had no reason to do this because, as I said, if somebody's paying a monthly subscription, I don't really feel like they're going to gain many monthly subscribers from this. Anyway, my question for you is, do you think sometimes nostalgia blinds us when it comes to games?
Not games. Everything. Nostalgia is... I hate it.
Yeah?
It kills creativity. There's, like... I don't know, I realized it the other day. I was looking at all the posters we have in our theater on our walls.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like... I looked at all of them and was like, man, there is a original idea. A single one out of all the advertisements in my theater.
What's that?
Midsummer, Ari Aster's second film after Hereditary. Love the first one. Can't wait for the second one. Actually, there's two. There's also Stuber, but that movie's gonna be dumb, so I don't count.
So
I don't know. Nostalgia.
Specifically when it comes to games, have you ever gone back to a game?
I mean, I have played Mafia 2 for the past 8 years.
I'm talking about something like really far back.
That's really far back. I played that in the 4th grade. That's really far back for me, boss.
So your first gaming console was a Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Some of those games haven't aged well.
Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue isn't going to be good. I play that again. But yeah. I know, like, Super Mario World is top 10 game all time.
Yeah, I think there are some games that are timeless. I really do. Like, so for me, I would say any of the Mario games, I think that they're pretty much the traditional Mario platformer games. Mario 1, 2, 3, Super Mario World, right? I feel like those are...
Doki Doki.
Well, okay, I get that. I get that the jury's out on Super Mario 2. I still think that it was a solid enough game, even though it had some very questionable design choices because, well, that's a whole nother story. I'm not going to bore you guys with that story. Everybody knows that story. But in, like, Sonic, right? So Sonic 1, 2, and 3, Sonic CD, like, they're gold. They're great. Like, they're timeless. They're pretty good. Sonic 1, I feel like Sonic 1 has not aged as well. Mega Man, you look at the first Mega Man game, that game doesn't really play that well compared to even the second Mega Man. So there are the classics, and they're classics for a reason. But, like, to give you an example, you mentioned Power Rangers, which was an N64 game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I recently got Rare Replay, and I was playing some of the N64 games that I remember being really good. Conquer is still pretty good. I mean, it's just
What's
like...
the destruction one?
God, what is that game? Because I played it and I was just like, this is not very good. It's okay. It's fun. Like...
Ghost and Ghoulies. I think it's GameCube.
No, that was not on the GameCube. It was on the original Xbox. Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
That's it.
And it was an Xbox exclusive because Microsoft had just purchased Rare. So, like, for me, a really good example of a game that I still think it's a good game, and I think that it added a lot to the genre of games, but, like, a lot of people always point to WWF No Mercy as the greatest wrestling game of all time. But if you go back and you play it, okay, combat system-wise, okay, sure. There's a lot of exploits in the game. I was playing it with friends. I was just dominating everybody because I knew all the exploits in the game. Two, it has frame rate issues. The graphics are horrendous. The only thing that makes it good is the simplistic combat system in No Mercy makes it so that anybody can pick it up and play it. And I love that, and that does make it one of the better wrestling games of all time. But it still hasn't aged well. Nostalgia blinds us sometimes. I went back, I played No Mercy in 2010, which was about 10 years after it released. And I'm playing this with friends on an HD TV, on an N64, not a PC mod, because they clean things up. The graphics looked awful. It had slowdown issues all over the place. You couldn't play ladder matches. It was frame rate issue city. So, like, I feel like nostalgia blinds us sometimes, and I feel like that's what's happening with World of Warcraft. Everybody wants vanilla because they don't think the last expansion was good, but the last expansion was good. And you know what's funny is, not to go on a World of Warcraft rant here, even though that was the beginning of our topic, I see people now, Battle for Azeroth is out. Everybody's saying, man, I wish it was more like Legion.
ICP people are playing WoW?
No. I'm sure there are juggalos playing World of Warcraft, but I haven't run into any yet. But my point is, like, people now are saying the last expansion, World of Warcraft Legion, oh man, I wish it was more like that. I really like that expansion. But when Legion was the newest thing, they were going, oh man, we can't wait till the new expansion because this one's been so bad.
People like to complain.
Oh God, I hate it, man. We're just so cynical as a society. It's like it's more fun to be negative than it is to be positive. I'm not saying you should like everything, but
liking things isn't.
It's not cool.
It won't get spread around. But WWE Timeless Classic, though, and the greatest wrestling game of all time, to correct myself from earlier, Here Comes the Pain.
I would put that one in there, too. I think that game...
I've played it within the last year, and I still enjoy it.
It's still a good game. You know what made Here Comes the Pain so good? And here's what also made No Mercy so good. It had great story modes. But Here Comes the Pain had a story mode that was way more robust than WWF No Mercy. It's chalky milk time. But
yeah, you lagged for like the last whatever.
Oh.
Ever since I said that.
Oh, well.
Already said.
So I was just saying that, like, Here Comes the Pain had a more robust story mode than No Mercy, which is saying a lot because No Mercy had a great one too. WrestleMania 2000 also had a really good one. I would encourage you to play any of those games, but just like keep your, expectations realistic on them. But Here Comes the Pain, man, that thing was like stuck in my PS2 for 6 months.
I used to do the thing where like, if your friend like had to go, so you take the disc out, and you just kept on playing until the game crashed. I've done that so many times.
I think everybody did that with PS2, where it was like kind of a game like, let me see how far I can get without the game crashing. One game that was really good about that was Madden 2001. You could take that game disc out, and it would play for a while before it would finally just freeze up. But memories. Hey, man, I remember playing Madden 2001, and the graphics on that blew my friggin' mind. I went back and I played Madden 2001 recently, and I was like, wow, this looks awful.
Consistently comes up every once in a while in my life where I have to shut people down and be like, I haven't played it because the graphics suck.
What's that?
Oblivion.
So I'll agree with you in terms of the graphics. It was tough, man. It was a tough time because when you look at when Oblivion came out, it was right at the beginning of the Xbox 360's lifespan. Like, I'm talking about
Fallout 3 is also unplayable too, in my opinion.
Sure. Oblivion had a lot of frame rate issues. Oblivion had a lot of laggy moments. Interactions with NPCs could get laggy sometimes. Unintended things would happen. It wasn't perfect. It blew my mind with how good it looked. But when you go back now, you go, this looks like an Xbox 360 launch title. And I want to say it came out within the first couple months of the Xbox 360's launch. But it's a really good game. I played through it completely twice and really enjoyed it. Played through all the expansions. It's really good.
It came out March 20th, 2006.
Okay, so the Xbox 360 came out November 2005. So this game came out within the first 6 months of Xbox's launch, and originally it was planned to be even closer to the launch window than that. It's a good one, though. It's a good one. But I get it. The graphics now are a little bit offensive. They offend the senses to a point.
But I don't know. It's weird because like there's some games where like the graphics are even worse, but I'll still play it. Like I'd rather play like Turok on the N64.
Oblivion's good. I feel like here's the thing: when they did Skyrim, they added more stuff to the combat. The combat had a little bit more depth, and then it also had better graphics, and it had more side missions, and it was just a deeper game. It felt more refined. It truly felt like they had jumped a console generation, and that's nothing against Oblivion. I would still encourage anybody listening, if you haven't played it already, you can get it very affordably. They have a version that plays on the Xbox One. I'm sure you can find one that plays on PS4. But it doesn't look as good as Skyrim. It doesn't. It's not even close. Even though Skyrim came out towards the end of the Xbox 360's life. Yeah, it's just totally different ball game. Speaking of totally different ball games.
Not even 2012, 2011, I think.
2011? That sounds about right. Maybe. I don't know. I remember playing Skyrim in 2012. I don't think it really matters. I feel like even if it's 2011, we're still talking about a game that came out 5 years later.
I mean,
when I feel like they could.
Masterpiece. It's 2011.
It is. It is a masterpiece. I think Oblivion's a masterpiece. I think Morrowind, Elder Scrolls 3, on the original Xbox and PC, and I don't think they did make it on PlayStation, but I think that game's a masterpiece. Elder Scrolls has always been pretty strong in my opinion. I don't think there's a bad one out there. Even the earlier versions were good for their time, and I hope one day we will get Elder Scrolls 6.
I mean, it's been announced, so.
Well, yeah, I know. I just wish it could have come out a little bit sooner, and maybe they could have.
It's not going to come out in this console generation.
Maybe they could have skipped that.
I know that for sure.
Horrible mistake of Fallout 76. Anyway,
or Fallout 4.
So, well, I don't know if I can co-sign on that one. I think Fallout 4 is still pretty good. So,
I mean, it's all right.
Well, we know you prefer New Vegas, right?
New Vegas is the greatest Fallout game ever made.
There you go. I mean, I don't know. I just want Elder Scrolls 6. I never really got into Fallout that much. I respect the games, but
Cyberpunk. No, is it Cyberpunk made by them? What's the game that they're making? No, it's a space one. Cyberpunk is the Witcher people. I'm dumb. What's the space one called that they're making?
I don't know.
They're making some space game, and then they'll work on Elder Scrolls.
Well, that's disappointing. I hope the space game
in the movie.
Well, no. It's
a ripoff.
I really hope the space game works out for him. I was very sad to see Fallout 76 be what it was and what it ended up becoming. I don't know, Andy. Like, I want to say that it matters.
Starfield.
Well, that's the first. That's the first I've ever heard of that. So I hope Starfield is good. So, moving on to another topic about, was it good or was it bad? Game of Thrones finale was this week. Very unpopular.
Awful. Hated it every minute.
Well, you didn't watch the show, so I put in the show notes, is it one of the best TV shows ever? I don't really feel like Andy's going to be able to weigh in on this one. I think it's up there.
Yes.
I think it's up there. Like, I'd put it up there with, like, to me, I feel like Breaking Bad was one of the better shows that we've seen recently that I think you could call an all-time great. Right up there with, like, Seinfeld and...
It's definitely top 5 all time.
Yeah.
Based on how it became a cultural event alone.
For me, it's tough, man. Like, I look at MASH. MASH was the most watched American television event of all time when they did the finale. It was a great show. Held a mirror up to society. Got a little preachy towards the end. We all know that. We joke about that.
It's
but
currently ranked 6th greatest show of all time on IMDb. Surprisingly, there's been a new show at number 1.
What's
Chernobyl.
Well, we gotta watch that, dude. We gotta watch that. Do like a little
episodes
mini review.
in, it's currently tied with Planet Earth 2 as the greatest TV show of all time.
See, I don't really like IMDb because people can kind of mess with those polls, but that's good news for Chernobyl. But like, to me, like
9.5 off 30,000 votes.
So to me, like the all-time greats, you know, I think of, and obviously you could go back further, right, before my time, but I think of Cheers, Seinfeld, Breaking Bad.
Do miniseries count?
I guess.
Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers, yeah. Like The Wire would be another good one. Oz, yeah.
Sopranos.
I didn't even watch it. Sex and the City. I feel like it's definitely got to be up there. Yeah. Like, and I feel like Game of Thrones is in that rare
WBE
air.
Raw.
No, definitely not. But I feel like Game of Thrones is definitely in that rare air. And I know there's a lot of people out there who maybe don't watch the show, but I would encourage you, if you want to get into it or you want to give it a shot, try to watch at least the first season of it. It starts off a little bit slow. The first couple episodes of the series, they kind of introduce characters, and it's a lot of character development. And obviously, we know that's not very exciting, but I actually liked the finale, and I wanted to ask Andy a question as far as, do you think, and this doesn't just go for Game of Thrones, if you make a movie or you make a TV show as a writer, a director, etc., and the fans don't like the ending, do you think that's a negative thing? And do you think that you should change the ending for them?
Changing the ending, no. Negative thing, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, psychologically, the only thing like the whole thing, like when they taught me how to like write a paper properly. People would generally remember in the beginning and the end the most. And it's, just leaves a bitter taste in everyone's mouth when the ending sucks. Mm. But then again, most TV shows' endings are awful. Like, most of the great TV shows ever, the endings have been terrible. Like, How I Met Your Mother, I refuse to rewatch it. I rewatch sitcoms all the time. The last 45 seconds of How I Met Your Mother ruined the entire show.
So I'll agree with you there. I guess my thing is the writer of the novels. By the way, he hasn't finished the novels. The show outpaced the novels. He probably won't, sadly. But he said, like did you see the quote that he attributed to his work where he was like, art is not a democracy. You don't get to vote on how it ends. I just thought that was so relevant and so true. Like, it's the writer's show, right? Like, it's their art. It shouldn't go by popular consensus. And it kind of reminds me of Dickens in a way, where one of the best novels in American literature, in most people's opinion, is a book by the name of Great Expectations. And famously, if you go buy that book now, it usually comes in a version that has both endings. Dickens' original ending and the revised ending. And the story goes, he presented the book to the publisher. The publisher reads it and says, this ending is too sad. It's not good enough. Example. You need to redo it. And you know what's funny is I prefer the original ending. I know it's a little bit of a downer, but it fits
better
the rest of the story. What's that?
The second most sold book ever changes ending. Pinocchio.
What was the original ending?
The original ending, Pinocchio didn't get saved and he died. He hung there and lived on his mistakes. And then they changed it to where he has the whole adventure where he has to save old Grampy. All that.
I mean, I feel like that tells a better... I don't know. It's weird. Like, I think that art can be dark. I think that art can be unpopular. I think that...
Yeah, but also I can make the point with Game of Thrones with people not liking the ending. If they cater to the audience, the entire show wouldn't have been popular. One of the things that made the show popular is you're like, oh, this character is the main character. He's going to win it all. Dead.
Yeah. And I mean...
Like, if they just... It wouldn't have been such a polarizing, great show if they just catered to the audience the entire time, similar to certain movies we talk about every week.
I agree with you. There were so many instances of fan favorite characters being killed off. And to me, if we're going to put television shows down as art, which I think Game of Thrones comes close, I think Breaking Bad comes close, I think very seriously written TV can be considered art where it's, beautifully done. I think it should be blind to the outside noise. I think that there should be a vision from the writers, and they execute on that vision, and they don't give in to public demand. People wanted more Breaking Bad. People were petitioning for them to extend the show, try to do another season, and the writers said no way. Like, we're not even considering it because we have our vision.
As a non-fan, is that this wasn't HBO's decision in the show. It was the creators of the show's decision.
I don't even think it was that. I think that it was just getting too expensive.
HBO wanted to give them 10 episodes this season. They're like, nah, we'll get it done in 6.
I don't even think it was that, man. Imagine you started... I was telling Ashley about this. Like, most people don't know it. Like, the last 2 seasons, for the most part, they didn't have source material to work off of. So they met with the writer of those novels, and he gave them the broad strokes, so to speak, of what he saw happening, but he hasn't even written those books. At some point, you have to kind of end it. Otherwise, it becomes this tangent. Like, it's like a timeline. It's like Donnie Darko, like a tangent, where it's something totally different. And, I mean, that's just kind of my take on it. I wish they had more episodes. I wish they had more time to flesh out some of the storylines that started in season 7, some of the storylines that started in season 8. The story arcs that started earlier on in the show that finished in 8 were really well done because they were able to flesh it out and let it simmer and let it build to that conclusion. But there were a lot of things that felt a little bit rushed. And I mean, that would be my main criticism of it. But I just don't think that you should change things for fan outrage. Mass Effect 3 did it, and it was god awful. It was worse than the original. How are they going
to change it, though? Just make a new season, act like it didn't happen?
That's what they're petitioning for, and I think it's just...
That's not going to happen.
I think it's disrespectful to all the people who worked really hard on that show.
Sophie Turner
said it. I agree 100%, and what I just said basically paraphrased what she said, and I agree with her 100%. It's disrespectful to all those people that worked really hard on that show. Also, just got to say this, man. If you're a fan of filmography at all, season 8, they did there's some great shots in there. Great shots. They're beautifully done. So,
if you can see them.
What do you mean?
Everyone complains that they're too dark.
No, dude. The last two episodes had some beautiful shots. Beautiful shots. Wonderfully done. Anyway, moving on to DCD Film Club. This week was my pick. I picked Dredd. That's Dredd. Someone notified me. I think it might have been Dumb as Sphinx.
What? I watched 2009's Dread.
Well, you and Dumb as Sphinx. Almost.
I'm joking.
But this was my pick this week. I think that this, as I said last week, is one of the greatest examples of a modern action film done wonderfully well. And it's Andy's first time watching it. I've watched it a billion times. I have my notes, but I'm going to let Andy lead off.
Stop giving me these movies, man. I'm tired of not liking the movies you recommend.
Oh, really?
You're like, it's all right. I mean,
well, then there we go.
I don't particularly love it. I don't particularly hate it.
Okay.
The cinematography was good for like the first time, without spoiling what I'm talking about. I'll just get into it. If you haven't watched the movies yet, go ahead and check it out and continue on. If you don't care about spoilers, it's your spoiler warning. The whole slow-mo bit got annoying after the first time.
Okay.
CGI blood's awful. I hate it. I don't know how it was received in 2012, but CGI blood was bad. CGI in the movie was bad. The simplicity of the story I like, though.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, I don't know, they try to dig into his character and, like, oh, he's angry. And the lady was like, let's not get in that. It was basically like a telling the audience, why do we have to get in this? Let's make a dumb action movie. That's what you want to watch. Let's make it. I don't know. I don't feel like it was that original. But then again, it is based off a comic as a source material. But as a movie, I don't know. There's like other movies that could have, like, it has like Die Hard feel to it. Assault on Precinct 13.
Those are two good comparisons.
It came out after, but was in my chronological order in my head of watching them, which doesn't help. The Belko Experiment, I think, did the story better. Kind of similar story. But that movie's also dumb. My rating on this one's better than that one.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just a weird movie. It's just like, I don't know how to. It's all right.
Okay.
I'm not trying to do what I do like the other weeks where I'm like, it's all right. Not really get into it.
No, please expand. I'm actually digging this because it's funny how far apart we are on this, but in a good way.
I don't know. It's just like, I don't love it. I don't hate it. It wasn't boring. It was fun, stupid. Some of the slow-mo shots, I'll say, like, were pretty good. But it got kind of annoying near the end, like, especially the like very end of the movie. Like, whenever she's in, like, the tub, that was beautifully shot.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where, like, he's, like, killing a bunch of people in slow-mo. The CGI blood ruins it, really. I hate to say that. All the action CGI was pretty bad, too. Like, like, when he catches everyone on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really.
See, I don't have a problem with that, but
I'm also holding it up to 2019 standards of CGI.
I mean, that's fair. It's fair. I guess you could make some criticism about the CGI. I felt like they really tried to mask some of it.
I don't know. I feel like Dredd himself wasn't the main character. And it was the Anderson chick. And Dredd was the actual side character. And it was her story. Because she's the only one that has the actual character arc and the whole thing.
So there I would disagree with you because the point of Judge Dredd is that the idea is that he's the perfect judge.
Yeah. I also like that.
There is no emotion.
Like this wasn't anything special. This is a daily thing.
Yeah, and like that's kind of the gimmick is he's the judge he's a judge first and he's Dredd second, if that makes sense. There's no personality. It's not supposed to be. He's on the job.
I also don't like the frowning the entire time. He's just always.
See, that's where I disagree.
That's the whole movie. He's just like. He's like, execution. He's like.
Boy. Boy, this one's really we're so far apart on everything here. Like my notes, I'll go over them, but like it's like we're so far apart on almost every point. So I love this movie. Everybody listening to this by now knows that I love this movie. If
I'm
you
sure
know me,
I'm in the minority of my opinion.
You know what? Here's the thing, and like this isn't me being angry or bitter or whatever, but like generally speaking, our listeners tend to agree with No, this is the truth. Like it's the absolute God's truth. Like our listeners agree with Andy. And Andy is probably more knowledgeable on film than I am, and they seem to agree with that. So,
I feel like the movie would have been better if it was more lighthearted, but that kind of defeats the purpose of Dredd.
Oh, that makes me want to barf. Like, then we're okay. Well,
I don't know. It's weird because I feel like it would have been better, but at the same time, I don't. It's a weird movie because like the whole point of him is it's all bleak and straightforward. Like, that's the point of his character.
It's the point of the whole universe.
But, like, at the same time, the movie is just kind of bland. This also, I don't know, I have a weird taste where I don't really like action movies that much.
Well, I'm going to stick to my guns on this one. No pun intended. And I still say, like I said before, you guys know that I like this movie. I'm probably a little bit biased. I saw this movie in theaters. It was critically acclaimed. It was not commercially successful, so they never made another one. So, first off, I have to say, opening scene, I loved it. Kicks you right in the teeth. Tells you exactly what you're getting into. This is a balls to the walls action movie. Just a great opening. Borderline cold opening. Throws you right into the action. Right? And then, after that, gets into the major plot point. So I really like that. Thought it was a cool opening, something a little different, something that people don't do very often. As far as Karl Urban goes, I think this is one of his best performances ever. The fact that he was able to convey such emotion, never taking the helmet off. You only see from here the entire movie. And he was able to convey the emotion without the top half. Well, fine, whatever, Andy. My point is, I thought it was a good performance, great performance from him. I feel like if there was a real-life Judge Dredd, it would be very similar to this, based on the comic books. And I know somebody out there is going to be like, well, actually, in the comic books, they have all kinds of buffoonery. And it's like, yeah, okay, I get it. In the comics, especially later on, there are some moments where Judge Dredd gets a really weird sci-fi thing going on. But generally speaking, Judge Dredd is supposed to be the ultimate judge. He's supposed to not let emotion be part of it. He's doesn't really have much personality. He's out there to do a job, and justice is his only priority. That's it. It's all about dispensing justice in this dystopian world, post-apocalyptic world where crime is rampant and judges like this are necessary. I thought it was one of Karl Urban's best performances, period. Can't say this enough. The fact that he never takes the helmet off, I thought it was a brave choice. I'm sure there were people, writers, directors, producers, movie people, somebody in that group that I just listed probably was like, have him take off the helmet. Karl Urban's a really good looking fella. Like, have him take off the helmet. It'll be great. No, keep it on. Keep it on because it keeps up with the whole visual aspect of it. And it creates more character keeping it on. I thought it was a brave choice. Whereas in the previous Dredd movie that I will not mention again, he spends the majority of the movie with the helmet off. And it is just awful.
Mask off.
So I thought that was a great choice that I'm sure was not a popular one in probably production meetings. I thought the dark, gritty atmosphere really showed in the sets, the CG, the costuming, the apparel they wear. Even Karl Urban having the 5 o'clock shadow, I thought was just a great choice. It really conveyed the whole dark, gritty atmosphere of the movie. And it just feels that way. It feels dark and dingy the whole time you're watching the movie, especially if you watch the 4K version, which I would highly recommend. It's on sale right now for $6.99. So in addition to that, the action scenes, and you mentioned the slow-mo being annoying. I thought that it was wonderfully done. I thought that it was an interesting way to kind of, one, enhance one of the major plot points, which was slow-mo the drug, right? And then also, won't spoil the ending for you, but it totally ties into the ending. And I thought that it made the ending more meaningful to put that section in slow-mo. I know we disagree on it. I mean, and that's fine.
It's the perfect movie to turn your I don't know. People say, "Oh, turn your brain off, watch a movie." I can't really do that, but it's the perfect movie to do it. It's so, don't even think about it. The drug itself tells you what it does.
Okay. Fair enough. But final point that I have on it, the soundtrack is outstanding. They did a great job of finding music that was licensed music, the majority of it, that really enhanced the experience. I felt like it was a great visual audio experience all the way through. You listen to this movie in surround sound, gives me goosebumps, bro. I love it. I think it's the best action movie I've ever seen in my life. I think everybody should own one copy of it. I own 2. It's outstanding. People talk about Die Hard. People talk about all kinds of other action, Avengers and all. Dude, this is an action movie. This is balls to the walls. He goes through an entire building, clearing it floor by floor. Now, is it a cinematic masterpiece from a writing perspective? Heck no. That's not what I signed up for. I signed up for a really kick-ass action movie based on a comic book character in Dredd, and I wanted it to be dark, serious, and violent, and it checks all of those boxes. It's great. It's a 9 out of 10. And Andy's going to give it like a 4. Whatever. Get out of here with that.
Hello?
Yeah.
Alexander's frozen on me, so I don't know if you can hear me.
No, I can hear you. You gave it a 4 out of 10. Are you there?
Hello?
Hello?
Howdy.
Well, you gave it a 4 out of 10.
That's not true.
Then what did you give it?
A 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
That's what I said.
Oh, I said 4 out of 10 and you said 5. Okay. Well, there we go. We disagree. So, I appreciate you watching, Andy. I appreciate everybody on the podcast.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, there you go. Okay. There's the proof. There's the proof right there. Podcast over.
Funny if I just BS the whole thing.
DCD Film Club discontinued. But anyway, next week is the listener pick. And we ran a poll. And it ended up being Clint Eastwood's Gran Torino.
Get off my lawn.
So before we move on from DCD Film Club, I always like to ask you, have you seen Gran Torino? I'm assuming you have.
No.
You're kidding.
Nope.
Wait. Am I being trolled here? Like,
you're not being trolled.
You've never seen Gran Torino.
Why would I lie, Alex?
Sometimes you always go, oh, I'm just memeing.
Yeah, but not like that.
Okay, well, okay. So he's never.
You don't understand, man. You don't understand.
Andy's never seen Gran Torino.
You don't get me.
Always.
Get out of my room. Gosh.
Okay, settle down with your like Napoleon Dynamite impression there.
Napoleon, give me some tots.
Oh God. Before we get off a film, I remember when everybody was telling me, you have to see Napoleon Dynamite. You have to see Napoleon Dynamite. It's so funny. Oh my God, it's so great. So I go out of my way to get a copy of it. I think I rented it from Blockbuster. I watched it and I was like, okay, it had a couple funny moments, but this is not what people told me it was.
Where's the freaking 12 gauge, you idiot? What do you think?
Oh my God, it's not that good, but it's there are some moments. There are some moments where it's It's good, but I feel like it got overhyped. I also feel the same way about Sixth Sense. That was another movie where, like, before I saw it, when it was within the first year it came out, everybody, you gotta watch it. It's great. It's Bruce Willis's greatest performance. I watched it and I'm like, this wasn't that good. It was good. It wasn't that good. Anyway, Gran Torino next week. Andy, you're usually up to snuff on this. Is there anywhere I know we can't. Is there anywhere you can stream this? I don't think so.
I just Google it. What do you mean?
I feel like it's a good enough movie to where it's not going to be on Netflix.
YouTube, Prime, iTunes, Vudu, Google Play, all for $4. And you have a Cinemax subscription. You can watch it on there.
Yeah. It's not included with any streaming service. I'm so sorry, guys.
You can't get mad at us. Your guys put it upon yourself.
Yeah, you knuckleheads picked it, so you can't
recommended
put that one on me.
By Sway.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're mad that Dredd wasn't on Netflix, because originally I thought that it might still be on Netflix, and then when I picked it, I'm like, I'm not going back now. So if you're mad about that, just buy a copy of it on Vudu. It's only $6.99.
I'm contemplating changing my next week's pick.
You should just make it Dredd again, so you could watch it again and realize that you were wrong, and then just go back and say, Alex, it is a 9 out of 10.
I don't know.
So moving on to sports.
Basketball is my favorite sport. I like where they dribble up and down the court.
Well, we could talk about this basketball topic next then. So, Game 4, Raptors Bucs. It's in Toronto. Drake has his courtside seats as usual.
He owns the team.
He was getting out of his seat, rubbing the coach's back, standing right there on the sideline, jumping in front of the press table, standing right on the out of bounds line at one point. My question for Andy, and I feel like we're going to disagree on this one because I feel like the responses have been very generationally based. Do you think that that's disrespectful to the game as a fan?
Nope.
This should just be the episode where we agree on nothing.
I mean, I think he took it too far, but
he took it way too far.
They need to make a fan line.
If
fans can't cross that line.
If I could go back with a genie and transform Drake into a 45-year-old businessman who's not a celebrity, who has courtside seats, and he goes to rub the shoulders of Nick Nurse, I guarantee you he gets tackled, taken out of there, and banned for life.
There's a difference. He owns the team. Like, what if James Dolan did it?
Drake doesn't own the Raptors.
He owns a portion of the team.
How much?
A pretty big portion.
You're kidding.
Big enough portion to have a whole jersey night based off of him.
Are you kidding?
He owns a part of the team.
I don't think that's true.
I mean, he may not own it, but...
Wait, there's a big difference then. That's my point. Either he owns a portion of the team or he doesn't.
He's partnered with the team.
Partnered with the team? That's different. T-Mobile is a partner for NBA teams. You don't see T-Mobile's CEO doing that. He doesn't own a stake in that team.
I mean,
I can find no information to do that. Yeah, it's a partnership. Still,
he's very heavily involved with the team.
I just think it's disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful. If somebody did that at one of his concerts, they'd haul you out of there like you wouldn't believe. And if that was just some random dude who got courtside seats, some 50-year-old businessman there with his 12-year-old, they'd haul him out of there. That's it. To me, it's just disrespectful. Like, I guess my biggest point of contention is I feel like Drake thinks
he has
that
enough of a role with the team that the Raptors got fined $25,000 by the league in 2014 when he was influencing Kevin Durant to join the team.
Well, then there you go. I mean, I guess there is some ambiguity to it, right? So some people will probably disagree with me big time on this, but I just, I can't stand people like that because I feel like Drake thinks he's...
Yeah, he's an executive.
Whatever. I think he feels like
I keep on scrolling down and get more articles.
Yeah, well, my point is this. I feel like he thinks he's bigger than the game. He wants the attention. It's like, it's not about me, so I'm going to make it about me. And that's just so obnoxious to me. But when I was on Twitter last night, I thought it was funny. And that's kind of why I love this podcast sometimes. Me and you have quite the age gap. It's like 15 years. And people my age were like, get this guy out of there. He's annoying me. But then the younger folks like yourself were like, no, more Drake.
I mean, that's not what I'm saying.
Neither opinion's wrong, by the way.
Fans are a key part of the game.
They are, but I just, what I kind of worry about...
Like whenever they announce players and the fan section yells, and you're starting small forward, Kawhi Leonard, and all the fans yell, sucks, beep. Is that disrespectful to the game? Because it's been a part of the game forever.
No, see,
how's that any different than Drake?
My thing is he's physically getting in the way.
I mean,
he's physically touching.
I said,
the coach.
There should be a fan line. That's one of my first points.
Well, I mean, then we can both agree on that.
But at the same time, fans' involvement in the game is the key point of the game. There's that clip from like the 80s where like the referees told the crowd in Detroit to shut up or they're going to flag the team.
That's happened a couple times. And I do think that there is a fine line with professional sports. There's a fine line between I bought my ticket, I can do anything, and then you're being obnoxious or you're being ridiculous or whatever. Like, I think you should be able to boo as a fan. I think saying a player sucks is okay as a fan. Throwing stuff I have a problem with. I have a huge problem with that. I'm not saying that you're okay with that. I'm just saying, like, me personally, I've been in stadiums where people start throwing stuff, and I got hit by a taco at an XFL game once.
There's one way where it's good, one way where it's bad.
Yeah.
Bad thing is when you throw trash and all that. Good is whenever it's a part of the sport, like in Detroit where they throw squids on the ice when someone scores a hat trick, or throws hat on the ice when someone scores a hat trick.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I just think when it starts to interfere with the game in a negative way, like that's where I start to have a problem with it. And a lot of people will say Bucs players and coaches were negative about it because they lost game 4. What would be the difference if
Drake was a part of the team, though? Would it be any different if Drake was Marc Gasol and doing the same thing?
So technically, you would get suspended because you can't leave the bench area.
I mean, you can stand around and dance about.
Not unless you're subbing in. You can't go run over in front of the media table and start doing what Drake was doing.
Not all that, but like still like the whole running about, yelling at Giannis.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. That's a good argument for it. I think it crossed the line. No pun intended. I think it was just past the line of tasteful.
I don't know why that reminded me of, but there's a picture of Scottie Pippen talking to Damian Lillard before Game 4.
Mm-hmm.
And like the caption said, Scottie Pippen giving Dame advice. And someone quote tweeted and said, like, in quote, I had Mike, man, good luck. And I got a good laugh out of that.
I mean, the poor dude. So, I don't want to get too much on the Blazers, but...
Hey, that was it was second or third most watched conference... Like, the whole series average viewership of any all-time between a small market team and a superstarless Warriors.
Well,
they have a superstar, but minus a superstar.
Yeah, but even then, they still have a stacked team, and I do think that it's discouraging to anybody that's not a Golden State Warriors fan that nobody seems to be able to beat them because the team is so stacked that they could be without arguably their best player or second best player, in my opinion, and still...
He's their second best player.
Okay, so we agree on that, and...
That's just fact. If you don't agree, you're dumb.
Okay, and I thought I had a hot take earlier with the Drake thing, but I feel like it's bad for the NBA in a way, because if you're not a Golden State fan, you feel like nothing my team can do is ever going to match up. What the Blazers did this year was a Herculean feat, in my opinion. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, what's the other guy's name?
Myers Leonard played a game 4, had a great game.
Miles Leonard. They had some good players on that team. Yeah, I mean, there were some really great
Evan
performances.
Turner, Seth Curry.
Even some of the role players this year on that team, you know, really stepped up and did a lot. And I feel like they overachieved.
The other end of the conference, the way the Bucs built their team is the future of the NBA in my eyes.
You're probably right. I think that's, and to be fair, the Warriors drafted the majority of their superstars.
And without Kevin Durant, they're kind of a similar team. It's really, you have one superstar in Curry, which is, I've said before, the greatest offensive player I've ever seen in my entire life, arguably ever.
No, you're
and
right.
A bunch of people that fit a role around him.
I just feel like it stinks for Blazers fans because you had a team. It was something special. They got really far.
Does it stink, though?
I think it does.
Because you weren't playing healthy.
I know, but what I'm saying, though, is it stinks that you have a team that good and they get that far and then they get eliminated. We talked about this last week with the Celtics.
They got farther than you expect. Not really. I feel like a Portland fan, A, you got farther than expected. B, you lost to the Warriors. You're playing injured. The Celtics, they had a chance to go to the finals. I believed full-heartedly that they were going to make the finals.
Well,
I don't think Portland fans did.
I think there's a lot of Portland fans who felt like their team could get to the dance.
They would be like, Houston would have had to win the series against the Warriors for that to happen.
Maybe, but I just, like I said, I hate the stacked team dynamic that we see in the NBA. And I know some people will disagree with me and say that there's always been stacked teams.
They should do what
and all
FIFA
that.
does and do a transfer ban where they can't add players.
I think the easiest way to do it would be to institute a true hard salary cap. You look at the two sports that have done that. The NFL and the NHL have instituted true hard salary caps where there are very few exceptions. The team payrolls are there's a lot of parity, right? In the NFL specifically, you have to spend 97%, if I'm not mistaken, of your salary cap budget. So the players still get paid, right? You can't run a budget of a $30 million team in the NFL. They won't allow it, right? So it's a hard cap, but what do you have in the NFL? There's parity. Every year, there's probably about 4 teams that are probably Super Bowl contenders, and there's probably about 8 teams that might be able to sneak in. NHL, there's a reason it's the best playoffs in sports, because there's a lot of parity. We saw an 8 seed beat a 1 seed this year.
Twice. And they weren't 8 seeds, technically. There's 4 first seeds.
Well, my point in all of this is when the NHL moved to a hard cap system, you noticed year to year, you got different results. It wasn't just the Red Wings winning all the time anymore. It wasn't just the Penguins winning all the time anymore.
Penguins did win back-to-back.
Well, okay, but it kind of helps when you have one of the best players in the league, right? But my point is, there's a lot of
he's overrated.
Well, say whatever you want about Sidney Crosby, but he is one of the better players in the league. And, my point is that's what the NBA should do. And if you don't believe me when I say this, look up the salary cap number for the NBA and then look at the number of teams that are over it. It's mind-boggling.
Play devil's advocate with the fact that the NHL's offseason isn't fun. Like, John Tavares is the biggest free agent signing ever. Before that, it was... who was the guy that signed with the Wild years ago? Like, there's no, like, big free agent signings in the NHL.
I mean, I get that.
Isn't fun. Like, doesn't help with ratings.
I get that.
Doesn't intrigue people. Who's the guy?
At the end of the day,
it really doesn't matter, but
nobody's televising the offseason,
ESPN is.
Fair enough, but ESPN's ratings are in a dumpster, and their company's making less money than ever before, and that's why they've had so many budget cuts. So I just feel overall, for the good of the sport, they should figure out a hard salary cap, and there's a way they can do that where players still get the same amount of money. They would just not be able to all stack up on one team. And then what comes with that, with a hard salary cap, the other advantage in terms of competitive play is it would put more pressure on front offices to make smarter decisions with money. You would not see so many bad contracts if there was a hard salary cap. There would be no more Bismack Biombos making $13 million a year. That would be gone.
Saying Hassan Whiteside can't make $27 million. His valiant efforts in being a great player.
Listen, man. You put a hard salary cap in, people are going to think really long and
Johnson
really
making
hard.
$20 million a year.
They're going to think really long and really hard before they sign some bench player from another team who had one good playoff series to a big long-term 4 or 5 year deal. And I know some people, like the Players Association, would hate it. But there's a way to find a common ground in the middle where there is a hard salary cap. And I think that would create more parity in the NBA. And everybody that I know that doesn't watch the NBA anymore, the first thing they say to me is, I just got tired of seeing the same thing every year where the Warriors win it all. And it's Warriors, Cavs, Warriors, Cavs, Warriors, Cavs. People get sick of it. It gets...
Patriots.
I listen, it stinks. But they've got one of the greatest coaches of all time. And I don't care what anybody says about Belichick. Yeah, he cheats, but I mean, he's still coaching.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Well, I mean, we would probably disagree on that point, but yeah, I mean, one of the greatest head coaches of all time, one of the greatest systems of all time, quarterback that's perfectly suited for that system, and they get a lot of players to come there for team-friendly contracts. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. NBA, too top-heavy for me. It's just my take. Speaking of dumb moves, I just want to say real quick, before we wrap up today, the Bucs cut Gerald McCoy and then they signed Ndamukong Suh today. And I hate all of these moves.
What the topic says.
Okay, what does it say? Bucs cut Gerald McCoy and sign Ndamukong Suh. I know people call him that like as a nickname. Cam Newton famously did it in an interview, jokingly. I like Ndamukong Suh. I don't have anything against him. And I'm sure that he's going to get less money than McCoy was going to get. But I really...
a lot more less.
I just feel like the Bucs... Are they trying to make me not want to be a fan anymore? Like, this offseason's been really tough for me as a Bucs fan. They let Quan Alexander walk. I don't blame Quan Alexander in the least. He got paid, bro. I mean, paid. And the Bucs didn't want to match it. I think if they had matched it, he would have gone back to Tampa. But they didn't want to match it. Then they waive Gerald McCoy. They don't need to. I don't know what they're going to use that money for. I can't imagine that they'll get much for
Sign
it.
Ndamukong Suh.
Well, that doesn't do anything. That's just replacing one thing with another. They're both past their prime defensive tackles who are not as disruptive as they were. It was a team decision
to cut rough and rowdy, always getting in trouble Gerald McCoy and adding clean cut Donkey Kong Suh.
Yeah, I'm gonna stomp on your face after the whistle blows.
That's the dumbest part of the move. Gerald McCoy's never done anything wrong. He's been in the league for 12 years. He's been a stand-up guy the entire team, a team leader in the locker room, most likely. And they go and sign a guy that's historically been a troublemaker for several teams.
So a couple things about Gerald McCoy that really showed me his character when he was here in Tampa and makes me concerned about losing his presence in the locker room. So number one is his off the field work. The amount of off the field work he does in the Tampa Bay community is unbelievable. I don't think the Buccaneers have had a player that did so much in the community off the field since Derek Brooks, and that is high praise because Derek Brooks to this day is still a very big influence in philanthropy in the Tampa area and will always be revered for that reason. Gerald McCoy was definitely up there.
Did you ever win a Walter Payton Award? Curiosity?
No. I would assume he's been nominated, but I don't think that he ever won one.
Well, every team gets a player nominated.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain he got nominated, but I don't think he ever won the big one where you get the patch. But McCoy off the field, great influence, always respected as a leader on the field and in the locker room. But one of the most telling things...
He was the nominee last year.
One of the things for me that was really telling was Gerald McCoy last year was not voted a captain by his teammates. They actually voted Quan Alexander as the defensive captain after McCoy had been a captain for quite some time. And when he was asked about it, he handled it with such grace and was just saying, like, I'm just happy for Quan, and I'm there for him if he ever needs my help when it comes to being a captain or being a leader or whatever. But like, that's our leader. That's who we voted for. And I'm happy for him. And like to have that level of grace over something that some people would be real dicks about, right? To me, it indicated his character. On the field, yes, he wasn't as disruptive as he had been in past years, this most recent season especially. But I feel like replacing him with Ndamukong Suh, it's not an upgrade. I feel like it's a very lateral move. And I can't imagine that they're saving that much money to bring somebody else in,
This late in off season too.
Yeah, that's going to be able to contribute on the field that would make up for that locker room presence, because I think that's really the big... And I don't think Ndamukong Suh is going to go in there and be a big locker room presence. I think that he's going to do what he did last year and the year before in two different places where he just looks to get paid. In Miami, he was very outspoken, and his teammates all said that he was not very good in the locker room.
I will bring this point to just jog everyone's mind back up to the future, or the past, I mean. Don't forget, not so long ago, so far away from Tampa, how Paul Puslesny's retirement affected the Jacksonville Jaguars. The team fell apart after he retired.
Yeah, it's a really good comparison. I would also bring up Ray Lewis's retirement after they won that last Super Bowl. That defense was never the same, even though Ray Lewis in his last year was not even the best linebacker on that team. He was still
Paul Puslesny.
He was, yeah, exactly. He was a unifying force in that locker room, one of the best motivators in that locker room. I would say the same thing about Poslunsky in Jacksonville. The proof is in the pudding. Those defenses kind of regressed after they had left. I would assume Tampa, it may be the same way. Jacksonville's
completely
regressed
just
big
fell
time.
apart.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a tough offseason. The one thing for the Bucs that keeps me positive is Bruce Arians. I feel like that was a really underrated hire, and I hope it works out. And if it doesn't, I guess they just go back to the drawing board. But this one hurt, man. This one hurt. Like, I would put this up there with, like, when they let Warren Sapp walk. and he went to the Raiders. It felt wrong. Or when they let John Lynch walk and go to the Broncos, it felt wrong. And I can't stand it. Anyway, that's going to do it for DCD 30. So before we go, I want to mention, as always, you can buy a t-shirt. I think they're currently on sale again for $13, $14, something like that. Link's always in the description of the audio only and video only versions of the podcast. Well, not video only, but it's video and audio. But anyway, yeah. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, you name it. Just go to deadchannelduo.com. If you're watching the video version or the audio version and you want to know where else are we, maybe there's a platform you prefer, go to deadchannelduo.com.
Only version.
Yeah, I know, right? Just you gotta sync it up. You gotta sync it. Yeah. So like if you go to deadchannelduo.com, I updated it recently. We're at the top. There's like little icons you can click and it'll take you anywhere we're at. Like we're on everything other than SoundCloud. I'm still waiting to hear back from iHeartRadio. So maybe get back to us, iHeartRadio, you jerks. Anyway, last thing, if you leave us an iTunes review in the iTunes store, please leave your name. We'd love to give you a shout out. And I'll give you a fun fact about yourself too. Doesn't even have to be a 5-star review. But, leave a 5-star review. Andy, what do you want to talk about?
Nothing big other than that we want to push.
Oh, there's a Patreon coming out. So I don't have all the details hammered out on that, but we are going to be launching a Patreon. We'll try to put it in the description of the show. I don't know what tiers we're going to have, but I will tell you guys this much. Spoiler alert. There will be a $1 tier where you get to vote and select movies for the listener picks of DCD Film Club. I'm working on where you'll be able to get early access to the podcast. I would say that you'd probably get access on Friday instead of Sunday. That would probably be a safe bet. And then there will be some other little perks too. Like we're thinking about starting a Discord server. Maybe for some of the higher tiers, maybe you could come on and be a guest on the show. I don't know. Andy and I will work all that out. But yeah, but for sure, 100%, there's going to be a $1 tier. And it's going to have 2 perks, 100%. DCD Film Club for the listener picks. It's going to be Patreon only going forward. And then the early access, I will work that out some way, somehow. I know it can be done. I just need to figure out how. So, Andy, Boston sports.
By the time this next episode comes out, I'll either be a depressed fan or a champion.
Whoa.
4 more wins. It's against the Blues. Historically speaking, they have the highest winning percentage of any team since they've been in existence. But they've never won a Stanley Cup. I mean, we're the better team, but this playoffs is weird. I'd rather play the Blues than the Sharks because I knew Eric Carlson would kill us. So thank God we're up against the Blues. We have a chance.
Should be a fun series. Saw a lot of people on Twitter hyped up about it.
We've also had 10 days rest over them.
Yeah, you got to be careful though, man. Sometimes that can hurt.
I mean, it's the first series, the whole playoffs we've had rest.
Yeah, sometimes you get a little bit of that rust. I don't know.
David Pastrnak stopped playing like he did the beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's solid. I know you're a big David Pastrnak guy.
Oh, definitely. Could totally pick him out of a lineup.
Yeah. Or like a Brad Marchand guy. Patrice Bergeron, Tuukka Rask, Zdeno Chara.
I like the one guy who gives like one-word answers in interviews. I like him.
That's Brad Marchand.
Oh, he's fun. I like how he trolls the media. Yeah, screw the media. Screw the media. Yeah, just give him one-word answers. You're giving him an answer.
My favorite's like, do you have a bet on how many words you can say in an interview? And he just smiles and goes, maybe.
Yeah, he's so good. He's so good. He's a treat. He's an absolute treat. I feel like it's funnier because he's doing it, and they know he's gonna do it. So yeah. Well,
there's also like, I don't know. It's like they're like, what's your thoughts on the first line's performance tonight? Played good.
Yeah.
And then walked away.
It's like really basic answers. I love it. Well, that's going to do it. DCD 30. Hard to believe it's been 30 episodes in the books. And, watch Gran Torino for next week. DCD 31. We'll see you next Sunday. Bye.
Das vidania.